shined your love, your grace, your mercy upon us. And as we look back on these remarkable moments in our lives, we see you there, Jesus. And we just lift up your name above every other thing that's going on in our lives, and we say thank you. Thank you for being there for us, shining your light in our darkness. You are so good. And all those that believe it said, Amen. Amen. Why don't you take seats? Today I want to talk about ABBA. I know where your minds have just gone. The 70s Swedish pop group is not what I'm talking about here. Relationships are important to God. That's what we're talking about here this morning. Relationships being important to God. Abba, Father. Jesus actually teaches his disciples to pray using this term Abba, to address God. And believe it or not, I know we sit here and we think to ourselves, hang on, that's sort of normal. God, Father, I get it. But actually, it's quite shocking to hear Jesus use this term, Abba, Father, when he's teaching his disciples. Why? Glad you asked. While the idea or theme of God being Father is not something new to the Jewish people or the culture back then, but then if you look at the Old Testament, there's only a number of small times that God actually refers to himself, or his people refer to him as Father. It's only 15. That's 2 hands and 1 foot. 15 times in the entire Old Testament. So this is why it's actually quite shocking. Because now, in contrast to the 15 of the Old Testament, Jesus in the Gospel is talking about God being our Father over 165 times. That's just in the first 4 Gospels. That's it. Amazing, is it not? And this is quite shocking, because this shocking intimacy with God, the creator of everything, which made everything possible, has made a relationship with us possible through his Son, Jesus Christ, his death and resurrection. Relationships are important to God. So here Jesus is actually talking to his disciples. They're able to see now, they're able to pray now, and they're now able to address God as Father, Abba. Great Father's Day theme, right? Yeah. But God actually wants this close relationship with every single one of us. So how do we get to know him as Father? Well, ultimately, it's through Jesus, his Son. And also, while Jesus is with us and filled with these pages are stories that Jesus actually tells his disciples that can encourage us here today. That can remind us here today, what does it mean for God to be our Father? When we're addressing him as Father, what does that look like? And I believe, and I love, one of the biggest and most loved by me story is the Prodigal Son. And you'll find this in Luke 15. So if you have your Bibles, you can turn there. If you've got your apps, you can open them. Luke 15. And in Luke 15, there's 3 parables here where Jesus is illustrating the Father's yearning love for the lost. You might not feel lost today, but you may remember when you were. Or perhaps today you're going, well, I'm not too sure where I am today. God knows. You're not lost. And maybe today you're sitting here going, I have absolutely no idea who this Jesus is, or any relationship with his Father. Well, let me tell you, let me encourage you, Jesus knows your name. And he wants a relationship with you this morning. So 3 stories are here. Prodigal Son, perhaps the strongest illustration for me. And here's my reason. The two preceding illustrations or stories are actually where God the Father actively seeking the coin or the sheep without the coin or the sheep actively seeking the Father. But the prodigal son actually has the story of the Son and the Father. And I want to impact this a little bit more because the Father is watching and waiting. So you'll have to wait a moment. But I want to have a look at why Jesus is actually telling this story to the audience. And the audience for us is a little different to the audience here today. For us to actually understand, we need to actually have some cultural understanding. So I'm going to take you through some shocking truths about how much God actually loves us. Something that would shock the audience that Jesus is addressing. I also want to give you a few bonus features. You like those bonus features on DVDs? I love them. Okay, I am tempted, before I even see the movie, to go straight to the bonus features. So I won't even worry about your temptation. I'm going to give them to you right now. The bonus features are actually where we all think this prodigal idea, the son idea, is being restored. This meaning is restored. I'm being restored. But actually it means wasteful. Did you know that? The word prodigal means wasteful. So the real title of this particular parable is the wasteful son. Bit of a different slang. The wasteful son. The second thing I want to highlight in my bonus features to you is that there are three groups of people always in the crowd. You would think, okay, a crowd, they're just all the same people, but actually no, there's three different groups present. The one perhaps really close right at the front, those that are ready to receive the baptism of the Spirit, are his disciples, those that are closest to him. Hanging on every word, they're his followers. Now the second group that maybe is a little further back but not too far away, because they're actually here with intention to hear and see and find out more about Jesus. And you'll find it actually in Luke 15 verse 1. They are sinners and tax collectors. So those guys there, they're actually pressing in to the disciples, trying to hear what he has to say. Then the third group, right at the back, and I'm not having a go at you guys there.
Sure.
I'm not judging anyone. Maybe with folded arms is the opposition, the Pharisees or Sadducees. They're giving him that stare, you know, the one that you get when you cut somebody off in traffic. Like, I want you to die type of stare. Well, they did. They did want Jesus to die. They're actually there to accuse Jesus because they don't like the fact that there are these sinners and tax collectors in the crowd, and they know who they are because they're judging them also. And so these three stories in Luke 15 had these three groups in mind when Jesus is addressing the crowd. Third and final bonus point for you. It's actually right at the end, and we don't have time to go and unpack the whole story. Right at the end, Jesus talks to that crowd right at the back and speaks to their heart of opposition. Because in the illustration, there's an unforgiving son. The man has two sons. One is the prodigal son, the other is the unforgiving son. But the father does not change his behavior towards either. He loves them equally. And that is amazing. So let's dig in, shall we? Where? Well, remember it's Luke 15. We're going to be starting from verse 11, if you'd like to join me there. Jesus continues, because it's time, Justin, move on. There was a man who had two sons. The younger one said to his father, "Father, give me my share of the estate." So he divided his property between them. Shock, shock. Can I show you why? There's a shock here where the younger son is asking for his inheritance. That's shocking. In the Jewish culture, that crowd understood when the son asked for the inheritance that he was saying, Dad, you are dead to me. I don't think there's too many Father's Day cards out there like that.